Canon has just dropped a brand new lens for their full-frame mirrorless range, the RF10-20mm f4IS. Now this is replacing one of their very famous EF 11-24 rectilinear lens. Now this guy, a lot smaller, a lot more power behind it, but I think we need to maybe go into rectilinear and what it means.
Yeah, so a rectilinear lens essentially means that when you are shooting at an ultra-wide focal length, the lines in the image remain straight. So what generally happens is if you are shooting an ultra-wide image, so even if it is a fisheye lens or any ultra-wide lens, what tends to happen is the lines within your frame that's at the edges of the image tend to curve, following the barrel of the lens, because the elements in there are round, so you get barrel distortion. And the other thing that happens is in the center of the image, you tend to get what's called pincushion distortion. So that is where any lines that run across the image tend to bend upwards, downwards. Technically they're bending in or out, but if you're looking at a two-dimensional image, they look up or down. And that's what this lens aims to solve. So with some really clever optics inside there, some trickery with polishing and coating and optic design, they essentially create a lens that can shoot ultra wide but keep the lines in the image perfectly straight. So you'll see some examples of that compared to other wide angle lenses to give you the idea of what this lens is capable of. The only kind of downside to that ability to shoot ultra wide and keep all of your lines straight is that elements get more and more stretched as they reach the edges of the frame, and that creates a very kind of weird and unnatural looking forced perspective. And you'll see it in the images. Some of them kind of look a little bit unnerving almost, but that's the idea behind these lenses. It isn't a lens that you're going to be shooting every day because that perspective is strange, it is weird. But if you need a lens like this, man, there's almost nothing else like it out there.
So even though you did mention that this might not be an everyday use lens, no, I actually feel like this can definitely be a great lens for many photographers, sort of like a standard lens in their bag to have, seeing that you do get very straight lines. So that'll be great for architecture, or even if you want to get into sports. You know, guys shooting a bit of skateboarding or mountain biking, anything like that, you can get really good, cool, creative shots with it. You can even go as far as trying some portraits, you know? Yeah. Really cool and creative portrait shots that you can get with a sort of like wide, almost non-distortion look that you can get out of it.
Now, to get back to this specific lens, let's first talk about the image quality in there. And, well, it has that red ring on it. It's a Canon L series lens. It's sharp. The color rendition is excellent. It is exactly what you expect. There is not a single surprise here. The images look good. It works phenomenally well on the R series bodies, obviously. It is absolutely what you expect from a Canon L series professional standard lens. But that's not what's interesting about this lens, not at all.
Yeah, something that definitely surprised me when I got handed the lens is actually just the sheer like size of this thing. It is so small, especially when you put it next to the older brother, the EF 11-24. That thing was huge. Yeah. And it was so clunky and heavy to move around with, especially if you're doing like hiking up on a mountain or you're a landscape guy and you're all over the show. This is such a small, compact sort of lens. The other cool thing is that they jammed IS into this somehow. Yeah. And still, it's so much smaller and lighter than the predecessor, which is another great addition that they added to this, making this also very good to use for maybe sort of sport videography. Yep. If you want to shoot some video, you have IS built into the lens.
Yeah, so at this point, it might be worthwhile mentioning that we have actually received no specifications about this lens. So when we say it's lighter, we tested it like this, holding the other lens over here. It's quite a scientific test. It is significantly smaller and lighter. And it's so cool. The IS works really well, and I can definitely see somebody shooting a fair bit of video on this in that extreme sports kind of realm. Everything else here is kind of standard. It's got the function ring that you can assign, obviously manual focus, focal length change over here, your toggle switches exactly as you expect, your multifunction assignable button. And because of this optical protrusion in front, you are going to struggle to fit filters onto it. So Canon do one of those rear mount filter setups on this. And yeah, it all just works so well, fits into the ecosystem very comfortably.
So knowing that there's a red ring on this lens, we know this can probably be a little bit expensive. So we hope to see Canon maybe launch 2 more lenses, 2 gaps that I see in their sort of wide angle RF market. And that is the biggest obvious one, which is the crop sensor one. We're still waiting on the RF-S version of a 10mm. Maybe we'll see that pretty soon. And then also quite a sort of a specialized one, but the fisheye, the 8-15, it was quite a popular one. Again, extreme sports guys love that lens. So I hope to see maybe sort of an RF version of that also coming soon.
Yeah, I think it is encouraging to see that Canon is expanding that ultra wide angle segment of their market, and a crop sensor and a fisheye would be amazing to see. And on that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us for this first look at Canon's all-new RF10-20mm f4 IS STM lens. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to drop a like down below. Comment if there's anything you'd like to know about this lens. And if you enjoy our content, consider subscribing. It really helps us out a lot. Until next time, guys, cheers.